You are listening to the Happy Healthy Leadership Podcast with Kathy Williams. Here you will learn to be physically, mentally, and emotionally fit. The focus is not just being healthy by the doctor's standards, but being the best version of yourself you can be, empowering you to be a great leader for your family and your team.
You're listening to Healthy Leadership, Episode 4. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about expectations and how your expectations in life can possibly hinder you, actually, and affect you in a negative way. So we all have expectations of ourselves. We have expectations of employees, of the leaders we work with our team, with your spouse, with your family. And some of those expectations are out in the open, and some of those expectations are these unwritten rules, for a sense. And you think about every area of your life. So, for example, when as a mom, I have expectations for my kids, and I expect them to be polite. I expect them to go through their nightly routine. I would love for them to go through their nightly routine without me having to remind them, but I know I'm going to have to remind them. So I have different expectations of what's really going to happen. So this reality. I also have expectations of my husband. So expectations that he'll be faithful for me. I have expectations that it might even be that he will take out the trash on Sunday night without me having to say that. I have these unwritten rules of how he's going to treat me and act towards me. I have expectations of what I want and how I want him to fulfill desires of mine. And some of these things he knows, some of them he does not know. In the same way that I have these expectations of my kids and my husband, I have those for my employees. I have those for other leaders that I work with. I have those for people that would hire me. And I want you to notice, what are you expecting of others? And what are those unwritten rule book, those hidden manuals that you have of others? One of the little examples of this, and it got in the way, is I was doing dishes one night. There was just enough room in the dishwasher to put dishes in the dishwasher. And I had these unwritten rules for my husband to put his dishes in the dishwasher. But one next morning, I got up. What did I see? I see the dishes in the sink. And I realized how disappointed I was. And I made him mean all these things about me, that he didn't respect me and all these other things. But I didn't put my expectations out there because I had these unwritten rules. Expectations, how they can be healthy, and it's healthy to set your expectations. Your team of people need to know, what do you expect out of them in their daily jobs, in their monthly, their yearly? What are those expectations? What are those big rocks that they need to hit? What are they required to do? However, I want you to start challenging yourself to look back at, what are those other expectations you have that really don't matter? One of the recent experiences I had is I was in South Africa and I was able to pet a cheetah. One of my lifelong dreams, it's a bucket list, is that I am going to pet a tiger someday. And I can picture this whole experience in my head, of this experience of petting this tiger. My husband and my kids, they're afraid of me. I told them I'll do them when I'm 90, and if that's how I go, that's going to be a great way to go, living my dream in my bucket list. But as I go to pet this cheetah, I have these unwritten rules of what this experience is going to be like. And I imagine walking up to this cheetah and giving him that vision, eye to eye, and it's that looking in his eyes and feeling that fear and that excitement of this powerful creature that could completely demolish me and destroy me in 2 seconds. And having almost this acceptance from and giving me this permission that I can pet him, and being able to pet him and having this awe. And so I go in to pet this cheetah. I'm at the sanctuary and I'm excited. I walk into this cage. And instead, what happens is there's this man that has the cheetah and has a leash around him, and the cheetah's back is to me, and they're very, for good reasons, strict about what you can do. And so I can pet the cheetah with my flat hand, and that's all I could do. I couldn't even see the cheetah's eyes. Like, I have no clue what this cheetah's eyes are looking like, and the holder of this cheetah, who has a relationship with the cheetah, is there, like, right by the head, like scratching him, like just very protective to keep me safe. But also, it's crazy how that expectation of what my encounter with this cheetah was going to be like, it exchanged my experience. I pet the cheetah, and then I had experience where I got to walk in front of it and look at the cheetah as I stood up very straight, and I couldn't crouch down because the cheetah would have thought that I was actually going to attack it. And then I got to pet it again and walk away. Now I got some amazing pictures from this experience. But I felt a little disappointment. Instead of walking away there as being ecstatic and excited, the feelings were different because I had different expectations of what I was going to experience. And now, just like my expectations of my cheetah experience, my expectations didn't match up, and there are these unwritten rules. I didn't have my best experience because I let my expectations get in the way. Now, I want you to think about what areas of your life, personally and professionally, does that happen to you? And it might be a big one, especially with your spouse. I want to really challenge you to start thinking about what are those expectations that you have of your spouse. Because when they are not fulfilling those unwritten expectations, I am guessing that you are probably feeling a little resentment. You might feel disappointment. You might not feel respected. And what's really crazy is when I work with couples, and I would work with a leader, and that leader doesn't feel respected for everything they do at work and all the hours they put in, all the effort they go in and to put so they can financially support their family. And they feel so much resentment towards their spouse. But what's really interesting is on that flip side is when I talk to that spouse, they also feel disrespected and resentment, because they have their expectations of their spouse, and they're not communicating. Neither of them are communicating, but they expect to be thanked more. They expect for all these little things to happen, and when they don't receive them, what happens is we all make things mean about us. So these expectations, we create meaning towards ourselves. So what are you making those expectations mean about you when they don't happen? We have expectations for people like our spouses and our parents, our siblings and our friends and our neighbors and all those people. And then there's another layer of expectations too I'm talking to, because we can't really control those people. Those are in this outside box. We don't have any power over them. And now we have people like our kids, where we set expectations, and our employees, where we have to set expectations with them, we have to set guidelines, and we have to set boundaries with them. But what happens is, how we treat it differently is we set those expectations, but we almost have to expect that sometimes, especially if they're kids, that they're not going to fulfill all those expectations. And there will be at some point that they are going to disappoint you and not do things exactly right. And they might do things horribly wrong, actually. But how does that affect you, and what do you make that mean about you? What do you make that mean about them? What meaning have you attached to it? And that's where we really start running into issues. For example, one of my children I've got an argument with recently, and there's these battles, and it was all about expectations, and we got in this big battle of, I ask you to do something, and he's battling me on it, and I realize these big, heavy emotions for me, and this anger and upsetness, and why do I have such big feelings about it? Because what happened is I created a meaning that he doesn't respect me. And I created a meaning that he doesn't value me, or he doesn't, that my job as a mom isn't that good. And how it affected is I was not able to maintain an emotional stability when I did this. And I got upset and I yelled more. And the whole neighborhood probably heard about it, because I got so irate. But I didn't get that mad. And if I understand, and if I go back and I'm in those moments where I expect him to do what I say, and when he doesn't, I don't have to yell. Instead, I can go back and come from a calm setting of just saying, no, this is what I expect. You need to go to bed. You need to do the dishes. And I can set healthy boundaries of, in a calm manner, of if you do not go to bed, you will not. If you do not do the dishes, you will not be able to go play with your friends. What's interesting is when we set our expectations and I let my emotions get in the way, that is when things can bring us down. And that's when expectations have that harmful effect on us. Same things can happen with your leaders and your people underneath you and those people that you manage. We need to set expectations. But when they do not fulfill those rocks, when they do not fulfill those obligations, are you getting emotionally attached to it? Are you getting angry? Are you getting upset? How are you emotionally getting attached to it? And that is those emotions, feeling those emotions. Once again, the power of knowing your emotions. What are you thinking about that and making it mean? And is that really what you want to believe? Can you go back and understand that maybe they are trying their best? Maybe something else is going on in their life. How do they need help? How can you support them in a different way and be a positive leader by maintaining an emotional stability so you can be stable for them and help them grow in the areas that they need to grow? So, summing up expectations. Expectations are needed, especially for the people that we manage and for our kids and just for life. But what are they written? Do we know what they are? Know what those unwritten rules are? And how do we not get emotionally attached to those emotions and when those expectations do not get met? How do you communicate in a way instead of feeling upset and frustrated? I look forward to talking to you next time.
If you liked what today's lesson was about, learn more by visiting happyhealthyleadership.com. There you can connect with Kathy and start your journey on becoming mentally fit, as well as improving your company's leadership.